Patrick Short from Comedy Sports, Portland, Oregon. Hello, sir. You asked a brilliant question a few months back. What was the first dinosaur? I'm going to give you two answers. Hold on, because we got to go fast. Late 1700s, early 1800s in France, a guy named Baron Georges Cuvier is looking at all these stone bones that people have been finding, and nobody can figure out why these rock animal bones are around. Were these animals that used to be made of rock? Were these animals that were turned to rock by something like a Medusa with magical powers? Nobody really knew. And he was the guy who said, you know what? These are the bones of things that used to be alive on this planet when it looked a lot different, and they all went extinct. And his idea that old Earth and modern Earth looked different was revolutionary. So keep that in mind. 1824, a guy named Reverend William Buckland is exploring in England, and he finds some big lizard bones made out of rock, and he calls it Megalosaurus, which means big lizard. Creative guy, right? 1825, Dr. Gideon Mantell and his wife Mary Ann, who he met on Gilligan's Island, are exploring around, and he finds, well, they together found bones from something that would be called iguanodon. This was a big animal that looked like it had a nose horn. Later turned out to be a thumb spike. Keep that one in mind, because also the next year, actually 1829, I believe, Mantell by himself finds an animal called Hylaeosaurus. Hylaeosaurus was kind of like Ankylosaurus, one of these armored dinosaurs. It was the first one to be found, and it was amazing and fantastic. So those three animals, Megalosaurus, Iguanodon, Hylaeosaurus, got them right here, and they've all been discovered. Cut to 1842, Sir Richard Owen, leading paleontologist in Britain, is looking at all these pieces of all these animals, and he says, you know what? These are a separate type of animal from anything that we've got today. They've got weird extra hip bones, different from reptiles that we thought they were. They don't carry their legs out like a reptile does at a 90-degree angle away from their body. Think of an alligator. They carry their legs right under them, like the way we walk, with our legs right under our hips, like the way a dog walks, or a cow, or a bird. And so he looks at all this stuff and he says, these are separate, and I'm going to call all these things dinosaurs. So he's the guy who came up with the word dinosaur, and those three animals were the reason for it. So, Megalosaurus, Hylaeosaurus, Iguanodon, those are your three first things to be called dinosaurs. Now, what was the first dinosaur to ever live? That would have been the early, well, somewhere in the Triassic. And the earliest one that we think we found so far is in Tanzania, a little dinosaur called Niassa Soros. Doesn't necessarily mean it was the first thing that ever lived, but it's probably pretty close, because since we weren't there, we don't know exactly what was the first thing to have all those traits and be a dinosaur. But Niassa Soros was probably pretty close. Also, in 1858, in Haddonfield, New Jersey, a guy named Dr. Joseph Leidy found the first Hadrosaurus, and that Hadrosaurus was the first dinosaur to be discovered in the United States. USA!